All right, starting off my continuation on South Park. This will be South Park Season 2 review. All the episodes. And back in 1998, as I mentioned, I was without cable. Well, the cable in my area was limited. Luckily, there were a lot of good websites on South Park where you could learn details like where Matt and Trey got the idea for hating rainbows. They overheard someone in a restaurant at another table say she hated rainbows. So that's how they got that for the Kathy Gifford episode. But anyhow, um, moving on, it was April 1st, 1998. Again, I didn't have cable, so I didn't see the Terrence and Phillip. Not without my anus. And a lot of South Park fans were really pissed off. Some vowed never to watch the show again. How many really stuck to that vow? All right. I mean, and it was a silly episode, of course. Then, after that, they showed the sequel to Cartman's Mom is a Dirty Slut. Cartman's Mom is still a dirty slut. Yeah. This was my introduction to Styx through South Park. Yep. So, and, oh, and yeah, they did a reference to America's Funniest Home Videos with Bob Saget. Over 95% of them were never funny. Moving on to Ike's Wee Wee. That was a super funny episode. Nice A-Team reference. And Kenny fell in the grave. Okay. And moving on, yeah, I'm looking at some notes here so I don't miss anything. Moving on to the next episode, the Chicken Lover episode. We see how Cartman fucks up on all his schoolwork, and this episode was centered around Officer Bar Brady, who's even dumber than the police chief on The Simpsons. All right. And then Conjoined Fetus Lady. This was the first episode of Season 2 that I saw. Again, my best friend would tape them for me. And VHS. Man, how long ago that was. And let's face it, Pip, not a popular character, but he really kicked ass in that episode. I'm sorry, but it was funny when Kyle got a bloody nose. Oh, and the silly comments about the school nurse. And the next episode, the Mexican staring frog of southern Sri Lanka. An episode centered around Jimbo and Ned. And it had a killer song in it, Time of the Season. It's the time of the season for loving. Man, I used to be able to sing great when I was a kid, but not anymore. And the episode after that, City on the Edge of Forever, or the Flashbacks episode. And according to Matt and Trey, they did this because they were out of ideas in the middle of a season. Damn, this was just great. Really awesome. Oh, I just love the dark episode. How dark it was. If you have emotional problems as a kid or an adult, you end up having wild dreams. And dark, snowy. Oh man. this had to be one of my favorite. Well, I'll list my favorites at the end, but yeah, this will be one of my favorites from season 2. Oh, and Craig fell. The bus was hanging off the edge. Craig fell out the window. Craig Tucker has always been my favorite character, by the way. All right, moving on to the episode Summer Sucks. Reminds me of being a kid, swimming at the natatorium. And oh man, and they touched on the issue of fireworks being banned. I have family up in Minnesota. They were the first to do that up there. I swear they were. Chef's chocolate salty balls. I remember, and I still didn't have cable at the time, but I remember talking to my best friend over the phone about this new episode, and I asked, well, he was disturbed by it, so I asked, is Mr. Hanky back in it? He said, yep. Okay. And wow, what a shit-filled episode that was. Chicken pox. Again, this was a dark episode. Oh, and this shows us the beginning of an ongoing trend where the adults in South Park get together to do something, and it doesn't turn out well at all. Oh, and in the end, they all had chicken pox. They're all hooked up to the EKGs. Kenny flatlines. Okay, and moving on to another darker episode, The Planetarium, or Roger Ebert. Cartman sang really well in this episode. He really did. But in the end, he'd find out he was the last choice for that Cheesy Poofs commercial. Well, clubhouses. This was in September. And by this time, I finally had good cable in my area. My mom even said it, throughout 1997 and 98. I can't believe the people in this area put up with such crappy cable. But anyhow, clubhouses, a lot of people posted on websites that this episode made them laugh out loud. I mean, this episode was killer. Roy was a dick. Fuck him. And Fat Abbott. Whoa. Now that was a hilarious cartoon. Moving on to Cow Days. Seems like when you get on a ride at a carnival or a theme park, whatever, or a big park like Six Flags or Disney, the rides, boom, it goes so fast, but then it's over. And also, this is an episode where you really see Kyle hold Cartman accountable, And again, an ongoing thing in South Park, the kids hold each other accountable. It's been so noticeable. It was noticeable early on and continued to be noticeable. Oh, how horrible it was for Cartman. He flew off the bowl in the bar or whatever that place was. Here in the Chef Aid episode came after that, after Cow Days. Chef Aid, great episode. And every South Park fan should have a copy of Chef Aid, the South Park soundtrack. Great music. I know I've shown it in a music, I'm sure I've shown it in a music collection video. Moving on to Spooky Fish. Oh, they really came down hard on Barbra Streisand in this episode. And oh, a parallel world where Cartman was a nice kid. Oh, and killer pets. Oh my God. What an episode that was. Like with The Simpsons, South Park episodes, the Halloween episodes are always a treat. Same goes for The Simpsons. And after that, we had a Christmas episode. Merry Christmas, Charlie Manson. Oh man. This episode was controversial. And in the end, Stan learned to appreciate his family. And then there was the Gnomes episode that came after that. Tweek's introduction. And this is a time where you find that when South Park touches on an issue that makes you uncomfortable, well, you still keep watching and you still love the show and you get through it, and it might even make you a better person. Because this was shortly before I was diagnosed with Asperger's. Before that, it was just ADD. But yeah, and at the time, my parents had me go off my medications. So, and then this episode comes along. Tweek's all jittery because he has ADD. So, yeah. But I have to admit the forest scenery was the best part. Reminded you of an old-fashioned fairy tale story. But yeah, I got through this episode, and okay, you know what? They touched on an issue that at the time didn't make me comfortable, but fuck yeah, I made it through. Okay, Prehistoric Iceman, the final episode of the second season. I really enjoyed this episode. This was a great one, and this shows, well, in the end, you saw the super best friend bond that Stan and Kyle have. And they both love Kenny like a brother. He's no less a best friend. And they can't stand Eric Cartman, but nonetheless, he's a part of the group. And this episode apparently was based on Encino Man. All right. Now, before I finish off this Season 2 review, let me name my favorite episodes of Season 2. Conjoined Fetus Lady, because that was the first episode I saw, and hey, it was a great, funny episode. Flashbacks, and Clubhouses and Cow Days, and Merry Christmas, Charlie Manson, and Prehistoric Iceman. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 episodes that I list as my favorites of the second season of South Park. Anyone else have memorable moments from the early years of South Park? Go ahead. Type them in the comments section. Thank you.